So how are you guys' weeks been?
I just had an absolute fucking ordeal this morning.
What?
Yeah, so this is like fucking what now? Like volume 8 of Gaijin versus Japanese Bank, right?
Yeah.
I think we're like at that volume now.
Thriller in Manila. Gaijin versus Bank.
The bank strikes back. And I mean, like, to me, like, now, like, going to a Japanese bank is kind of like going to the dentist now. Because, like, I do anything I can to put it off.
I like
right?
my dentist, actually.
Really?
I mean, it's been great here. The bank's way far worse. I would rather have, like, an anal rectal cavity, whatever that is, opposed to going to the bank.
An anal rectal cavity?
At the dentist.
At the dentist. I would rather her use that drill on my ass.
Let me see your teeth.
I would rather her do anything experimental.
Honestly, I agree. Because, like, I've been putting off going to the bank for ages, right? Because I've needed to send money abroad to back home.
Okay.
Because right now, I'm helping my parents pay for the mortgage of their house, so they can retire and have a nice, comfy life.
Good Asian son right there.
Good.
Flexing right there.
Yeah,
just flex.
just being a good Asian son, as you do. So, I mean, I've been doing this for like basically since I started YouTube. But since I moved to Japan, obviously, most of my money is now in my Japanese bank account.
Right.
And I've known for a while that I was going to need to transfer money into my British bank account. Of course. I was just dreading this, right? As you do with any Japanese bank experience. Yeah. What I didn't realize was that I was going to have like the biggest ordeal I've had yet in the Japanese bank. So I mean, like, so I'm just like, okay, I book the appointments because you can't do anything online, as we've said, on call.
God forbid you can be in the 21st century.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I turn up as usual. And normally, when we turn up to the bank, they normally have one guy who works there that acts as an interpreter because he speaks English and Japanese. Right. So he wasn't there today. So,
but they just let you do the appointment. Did they know you were?
Yeah. They knew it was me. They knew. So you know the guy.
Yeah, they weren't going to be like Garnt. Yeah, that sounds Japanese.
So it was the same woman that handles our accounts, but the interpreter, the guy who speaks English, wasn't there this time.
Okay.
So I'm just like, okay, this is gonna put my Nihongo Jozu to the test, right? This is gonna stretch it to the fucking limits, right? Because I mean, thankfully I have been practicing as much as I can, especially my listening skills. Yeah. But this was gonna stretch it to the limits. So
like bank hard mode.
Yeah, this was bank like fucking Doom Impossible mode or whatever. So we start the process and we take inventory, and I bring all my usual stuff, right? Got my Hanko, got my bank book, got my bank card, got everything.
Fully prepped?
Yeah, fully prepped. Right. I'm experienced.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking Japanese bank war veteran. I know what the fuck I need to do at Japanese banks, right? So I'm just like, great.
I know what happens on the battlefield.
So I'm like, great. So we start the process. I'm like, can I transfer money to my British bank account, please? Or transfer money overseas? And then she starts explaining to me the process. And I'm like, fucking hell, okay, I understand like 70% of what you're saying. So I'm like, great. I'm following what she's saying. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this will be a smooth process.
Yeah,
so I put in my name, put in my address and everything I need to do. And then we get to the actual transfer part of it, right? The actual transferring money to an overseas bank. Yeah. And so she asks me about the bank, and I say, oh, it's a British bank, it's Barclays, it's my account. And then she says, and here's where my Japanese got tested. She said something, right? And I heard transfer, and I heard purpose, and I heard connection, right?
Okay.
So in my mind,
stitch it all together.
Because
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. So I heard those words. So I stitched the meaning of the word to be what was the purpose of the transfer. Right. Because that's naturally what I assumed. Yeah. So I was like, oh great, the purpose of my transfer.
Friend in Nigeria. He's a prince, actually.
Yeah. So I try to explain in the most broken Japanese I can. The purpose of my transfer is just to transfer money to myself. In England. Yeah. I was like, British bank account in England, my British bank account in England, transferring money to that.
Yeah.
And she was like, no. And she re-explains it. And I'm just like, okay, so how do I explain to her that I'm going to be paying a mortgage for my parents in England? And I'm just like, fucking hell. like, okay, this is.
I don't know. I struggle to spell mortgage in English.
Yeah. I'm just like,
I guess.
I'm just like.
I was like, wait, mortgage has a T in it?
right.
And I'm just like, Yoshin no tameni ie o haraimasu, and I'm just I'm just like that's the most I can come up with, right? Which is
better than what I would have done, honestly.
which is basically for the purposes of my parents, I'm
paying for their house,
right? And she's like, no, and then we just like try to brokenly communicate to each other, and then she whips out the Google Translate, and I'm just like,
why don't you whip this out?
And I'm just like, okay, here we go. And then she Google translates it, and she's just like, and the translation is, do you have any evidence that you have a connection to the purpose, to the person you're transferring to for the purpose of this transfer? And I'm just like, what? It's me.
It's literally me.
It's literally. Are we? It's me. It's me. Are we like? Is this a fucking circus we're running here? Like, what's going on? Like, how can I prove that I have a connection to myself? Right. So
if I were you, I would have been like, so how many fucking Garnt Manitafos do you know in the world?
Yeah.
Tell me.
This is the thing that I was dreading about Japan, is that nothing's ever good enough for the banks. It's like no.
Because
I want to see a passport of the other you.
Yeah, because to a Japanese person, sending money to yourself overseas is just a concept that they don't understand. It's like, why?
Yeah. So the first thing I say was like, I mean, my names are identical. Isn't that enough proof? And she was like, no. It's because in Japanese bank, your first name comes second and your surname comes first. So it's Manitapo Garnto.
Yeah.
And then in my British bank account, Barclays, is Garnt Manitapo. And because the names don't match, they obviously assume I'm like a dual citizen, like I'm fucking Jason Bourne with 5 different identities.
He whips out the passport bag. He's like, wait, which one? No, it's actually Russian guy.
So I'm just like, what do I need? And she was like, I don't know. I'm just like, and she was just like, I don't know. Do you have any bills? And I'm like, I don't have any bills because I live in Japan now. Will like a bank statement do? Yeah. And she was just like, yeah, sure, a bank statement will do. And I'm just like, do I have to print it out? And she says, yes, it has to be printed out and scanned to us. I'm just like, well, shit, because obviously.
Can I borrow your pencil?
Thankfully, with British banks, I can access my statements very conveniently on my phone.
But you can't just do this.
And on any electronic device. And I'm just like, okay, this is where my engineering problem skills like come in, because first thing I ask her is like, how much like. Can I go to the combini to print off my statement, right? Yeah. And she says, sure. How much time would that take? And I ask, how much time is this appointment booked for? And she says, I have an hour. All right, and the appointment's booked for an hour, so I have an hour time slot, because I am not fucking going. I am not coming back to the bank just for the purpose of this transfer, and I'm not missing out on this appointment. So I'm like, I'm doing this right now, and I'm just like, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the combini, going to print out my stuff.
Print out what I could have showed you digitally.
I could have just done this.
I could have sent it to you in an email. You
Exactly. So
do you have a fax? You can fax it to us.
So I rushed off to the combini, and then I realized that so every company has a printer, right? And there's only a few ways to connect to that printer.
Oh yeah.
One way.
This is why. I know. Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this? One way is via phone, and the other way is via USB stick.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, great. Maybe I got it on my phone, so I'll just connect via my phone.
No.
So
you think you will?
So that to me was like my first option to problem solve this fucking issue that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. Right. So I tried to download the app to connect to the printer. The app's not available internationally.
Of course.
My Google Play Store is still linked to my UK account. Luckily. That wasn't too big of an issue because I have a Japanese account as well for this exact purpose of downloading Japanese apps.
Right.
So obviously, I download the app and everything is in Japanese.
Yeah.
And obviously, my Nihongo is not Jozu enough to figure out Japanese. My Nihongo was not good enough to figure out this app.
Yeah.
So what I did is I have a second phone, right?
And
this
translate.
And this second phone is my UK phone. So I have like this old UK phone. It's an iPhone 5, which is like my phone before I upgraded to this new phone now. Which is the only purpose for that phone is just so I have a UK SIM card so I can phone home, or if any UK people want to phone me. So I'm fucking on my phone with another phone, Google translating my phone
I've
with another phone.
I've done that.
And I'm just looking like a fucking clown in the company being like, So I'm there for about a full 10, 15 minutes trying to get this phone to connect to the printer. It just does not want to connect. Fucking, I don't know what is going on with the app. I don't even think it was the language. I just think it was the app and the printer.
I've tried using that app. And I tried for like an hour. It just doesn't connect.
This is why I just always carry around a USB stick.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
same.
You never know when you need to print something off.
Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, this isn't going to work. Okay, I've 15 minutes have passed. The time is ticking. I've only got like, at this point, I've only got half an hour left of the appointment. Right. And I also still need to fill out the rest of the form. So I've got another 15 minutes the most. So I'm just like, okay, I need to find another way. Thankfully, I remember I bought my laptop with me. Great. So I have a USB stick as well in my bag. So I'm just like, great. I just need internet. So unfortunately, with Japanese Sims, you can't tether internet.
No.
So
it's like an option you have to pay for.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like fucking Googling, where is the nearest internet hotspot? So I look for coffee shops, right? Yeah. So I'm like, brilliant. There's a fucking
like a McDonald's or something.
Brilliant.
Oh god, it's just like everything you do, there's another thing. Oh god.
So it's like side quest to complete the side quest.
Yeah. So brilliant.
But now I have to order a drink because I'm in Starbucks.
Brilliant. There's a Tully's coffee shop, like right, a block down from here. So I like fucking sprint to this coffee shop. I don't want to buy a coffee because that's just adding more time on. So I'm like outside the coffee shop, and I'm just like fucking watchdogs. I take out my laptop in the middle of the street. I take out my laptop, open it, fucking connect to the Wi-Fi.
That's so ghetto.
And it's like a scene of Watch Dogs or something. Where I'm just like
turning off the traffic lights.
I'm hacking it.
Hacking into the mainframe.
I'm hacking the system. So I like download my statement, put it in my USB stick, run back to the fucking combini, then I can finally print off the statement.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and by then 20 minutes have passed. So I fucking run back to the bank, and I'm just like, do I have enough time to complete this transfer? And she's like, yes, we'll make enough time. Don't worry. I'm like, thank fucking God. Okay. So I hand her the statement, right, and she's like, "Okay, great, we can use this."
Yeah.
And then so we start filling out the rest of the form. So she asked me for my British account number and account details, and so I whip out my Barclays debit card, and she looks at it and she goes, "Oh, we could have just used that," and I'm just like. Oh my God, I am literally about to scream right now.
And if you ever ask a bank person being like, why didn't you tell me that before? Then they'll just be like, well, you didn't ask.
I mean, like I'm just into the Pandora's fucking box.
It's like, cool. Thank you for giving me all the options.
Was there a transfer limit that you could do?
There wasn't a transfer limit, thankfully enough, but the transfer itself cost $80, which is just like fucking Jesus.
So I think the reason why Japanese banks, because I read up on this before, because I had to help Aki do the exact same thing, right? So send money back home for her parents, and I had to go through this. Obviously, I didn't have the problem with the Google Translate thing, so I got it done in one go.
Yeah.
But I was just like, Jesus Christ, why is this just such an arbitrary process? It shouldn't take this long. And then I saw a thing being like, oh, it's because Japan has run into a lot of money laundering issues. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone can be bothered to money launder if it takes that fucking long to do it. It's not even worth it.
Honestly, it's probably a deterrent at this point.
Yeah.
Why would you money launder in Japan when
when it takes a full day to process? I'm like, I can't be fucked to money launder anymore. I'll just be a law-abiding citizen.
Honestly, it's probably easier to abide by the law than money launder at that point.
I feel like money laundering is not an issue that is on the everyday consumer and user of the bank. I feel like we should really be looking at these massive billion-dollar transfers that are done from
I guarantee it was
Islands.
probably it happened maybe once or twice. Yeah. And then obviously every Japanese company, when something bad happens once or twice, they get super paranoid about it. And they're like, guys, we have to stop this money laundering crisis. It is unstoppable. Make the process as bullshit as possible so that no one can be bothered to do it.
Is that really the reason why? Because I've noticed that anything payment-wise, Japan is very easy to send money to, but very difficult to get it out of. And I just wondered if that, I just assumed that was like Japanese government being like, yeah, we want money to stay here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably also a thing as well. I'm sure the money laundering thing is just like a farce, like a public thing that they just say. But I think guaranteed they're just like,
that's why we don't let immigrants in.
Yeah. We don't want you breaking any laws.